Sean Tell, FightHype.com, and the presence of greatness, to be frank, Larry Merchant. Larry, we're here for Canelo versus Kovalev. How do you see this fight going?
I think there's going to be several fights within the fight. And I'm curious to see how it evolves.
Pretty amazing.
And usually the quicker, younger guy wins this kind of showdown. But not always. And by the time of the fight, Kovalev could weigh in the 190s.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what that means? Who knows if he can really go jab for jab with Canelo and neutralize his speed. Who knows what happens if he hits Canelo a square shot.
Mm-hmm.
But Canelo is Canelo. He looks out for these kinds of challenges, dangerous as though they may be. He wants to be more than just a great fighter. And I salute him for taking the risk when he didn't have to. And I'm here because I want to see what happens.
You've always liked Canelo.
I've always been a Canelo fan. I saw something in him early on. And the fact that sophisticated as well as just plain Mexican fight fans sort of pinpointed him as their next hero. Not just a champion. Many champions, few heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they saw something inside him or whether he responded to that acclaim, even though hardened boxing people were skeptical because he was a star before he was hardly a main eventer.
Mm-hmm.
He reaches beyond what you think his reach is on a number of occasions. He certainly didn't have to fight Kovalev to make the kind of money he's guaranteed. And
you gotta take a picture with the great Thomas Hauser, it seems. So let me allow that to happen. Now, Larry, I believe we left off. You were explaining that they pinpointed Canelo as their guy. Mexico did, and he was a star before even being a champion, which had people questioning his legitimacy as a fighter.
I think the boxing establishment, questioned him because he was one of those performers with it, and average people saw the it before the experts did. And maybe that happens a lot, but they happen to be right this time. That he had the stuff to be a superior fighter, a champion, and maybe, when it's all over, a heroic figure.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because you covered Barrera, Morales, Marquez, watched Chavez, probably watched Salvador Sanchez. Is Canelo that level of fighter?
I think he's that level of fighter, but we have to remember and acknowledge that particularly Chavez somehow touched the hearts of his countrymen. And the warrior fashion he fought in, the dramatic fights he had, particularly the Taylor fight, and Canelo is a cooler cat. He's a boxer puncher, and a guy who uses his head. He's smart about how he goes about things, which isn't to say there isn't some Marachi in him.
No, there certainly is, I would say.
But hey, every fighter has a different imprint, different fingerprint, and he's a figure of his times. We don't see as many fighters who are just out there to wreck everything inside the ring. He thinks more, and I think that's a reflection of changing times, and maybe that was recognized as well. Aside from the fact that he looks like he came out of Dublin, but he's Mexican.
Is he almost like De La Hoya couldn't, sometimes they say, earn the acceptance of Mexican fans? Then on the opposite spectrum, it's Chavez. Is he somewhere in the middle, maybe, of those two?
He's somewhere in that,
in terms of, how they love him.
What makes a hero, what makes legends, there's no formula that I know of. Certainly what he brings is, in terms of his look, in terms of his style, in terms of his willingness to take on challenges that even his own handlers think is a little premature, and so on. But that captivates people, and should he win tomorrow night and look good or look great or come back from problems and get off the floor and come roaring down the stretch, we never know how it happened. But I think he's earned his standing in the game.
His spot, right. And I just got to close, since we're on Mexican fighters, I got to ask you, do you personally feel Chavez was the best, or do you have a Barrera or a Salvador Sanchez as number one for Mexico? Or
I think Barrera, I'm thinking Chavez fought more elite fighters. Didn't win them all, particularly later in his career. But I think there was more drama with him because we could imagine his opponents beating him because of the styles and how a boxer could neutralize that and so on. But he was such a force that he just went through everything and everyone, and he earned what he had. And hey, later on he lost to Oscar twice, and it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Everybody knew he was older and fighting an outstanding young fighter and so on, and he came out the other end. So it's how he fought, who he fought, and the dramas that he was involved in that captured a lot of hearts and minds.
And Larry, I remember heading into the first fight with Andre Ward for Sergey Kovalev, you said, absolutely, Kovalev's going to be in this fight, and certainly he was. A lot of people thought he won that fight. Do you look at him being overweight on the scales the first time he tried? Do you read into any of that this guy isn't the fighter he once was? And what do you think of that?
I'm not smart enough to know what a quarter of a pound means in the infinite scheme of things. But I've heard some people say he looked a little tired in the last few days, undoubtedly trying to lose weight. But as I've said, on the night, he's going to be near or beyond 190. And maybe what he sees and the fact that he he has the foundation of being more than just a big, strong guy. He can box, and maybe he has some tools and knows how to employ them against a smaller fighter. I look for sort of 3-4 round fights that I think the fight's going to change, depending on who's successful at what, because both fighters can change. I just want to see a good fight,
Of course.
and more than just an interesting fight.
But no fight pick, Larry? No.
I would have to go with Canelo because the quicker, younger fighter will usually win this kind of a showdown. But hey, when Pacquiao fought Thurman, if I was a betting man, I lost all my money betting on Thurman.
As did a lot of people. I thought Thurman would win that fight too.
And
That friggin' Pacquiao.
some athletes have the ability to rise to the occasion, and old boxing saying that every great fighter has one great fight left in him. I don't know if Kovalev was a great fighter, but he was certainly always a dangerous fighter and the most interesting light heavyweight in a long time. So I think this is, let me put it this way, man to man, yeah, I gotta like the younger, quicker fighter. But betting wise, if I was a bettor,
5-1, 4-1.
I'd have to lose all my money on Kovalev. Because I can't see him being that big of an underdog to a smaller fighter.
He's good 5'8". I mean, yeah, 5'8" versus 6 feet. But Larry, before I let you go, thank you so much for letting us bother you, and
Not a bother at all.
oh, thank you so much.